Hey everybody, what's up? Hope you guys are doing good today. Just back out in the tackle room today, getting ready to start today's tip, and gonna sort of skip the secret bait modifications today. We'll get back into that later on. And today I want to talk about what my 5 favorite lures are if I had to catch fish, like if my life depended on it, and I'm gonna explain to you why that is, and sort of just a little bit where I like to fish each bait. Won't go into a lot of detail. We can do that more extensively in later videos, but I basically just wanted to show you these 5 baits here, what my favorite are. So anyway, before we get started, just a couple things, just a couple reminders. February 18th again, Johnny and I have our Fish the Moment virtual seminar on pre-spawn patterns. This is going to be a great deal. It's going to be packed full of information that'll really help you out during the upcoming pre-spawn season. And you can check that out on fishthemoment.com, get all the info on that. And also, just if you guys like to order, or if you're wanting to order any of these baits that I talk about, or any baits that I do here on the videos, I've included the Fish the Moment Tackle Warehouse link in the description here, and it'd really help us out if you guys need to order some stuff. You can go to this link, order it, and fishthemoment.com gets a small percentage of those proceeds that really help Johnny and I put these videos out. So that'd be cool. And also, don't forget my t-shirts for sale, the Intuitive Angling t-shirts at the bottom of my YouTube channel. So anyway, enough plugging there. Let's get into what we're talking about here. So anyway, let's start out right off the bat. Number one, and there's no particular order because a lot of this just depends on the season that I'm fishing, but I'll just randomly go through it. First one we'll talk about is a jig, basically a pitching and flipping jig. This is, like I said, I probably won as much money on a pitching and flipping jig and won more tournaments throughout my career on this setup, not particularly this color setup, but just the full-size jig and trailer than I have any one. Anytime that you can get bass to bite a full-size jig, you're way ahead of everything, because normally if you can get them to bite a jig, they're going to be probably 1/4 to 1/2 pound heavier than about any other lure category you can use. So I use this all year long, all over the country. It doesn't really matter. A jig is one of the most versatile baits that you can have. You can do so much with it. You can modify it with different trailer combinations, different head sizes, different skirt profiles, different skirt bulkiness, and you can create anything from a full-size flipping jig down to a finesse jig. So my favorite setup actually is like a 3/8 ounce model like this with the Zoom Super Chunk Junior on it. I just get a lot of quality bites on it, and I get a lot of numbers of bites on it too. So anyway, the full size jig would be one of my number one picks there. Okay, my next one, which probably might surprise some people here a little bit, it's an old school bait, but it's one of my top lures in the springtime of the year, and that's just the old floating worm. This is just a yellow Zoom trick worm. I catch so many fish on this thing, it's just unbelievable. Anytime you have water temperatures getting close to 60 degrees, this is just a deadly bait. It really is. It's good in the spring, and there's a window of it that it works pretty good in the fall time too, when the water temperature starts cooling down. But this is a bait that doesn't get fished much anymore. A lot of people throw the swim baits, they throw the soft plastic jerk baits, wacky rigs, that type of stuff in the spring. But a floating worm is a deadly bait to catch fish on, and it catches a lot of big bass too. And I'll go into some details on I like to rig this thing, because there are some modifications I do to this bait that'll make for a good video later on. So my third one, and this is probably no surprise to anyone out there, it's a jerkbait. Megabass Vision 110, is one of my top all-time favorite baits. I'd say it's a real close to being one of my favorites with the jig. A jerkbait is a 12-month out of the year bait. It's known for pre-spawn fishing a lot, but I catch a ton of fish on it all year long. I like to fish docks with it in the summertime. It's a deadly smallmouth bait in the summertime, and it just works good all the time because it's just a bait fish imitation. And it's a versatile bait. You can cover a lot of different depth ranges with it, cover a lot of water with it, and it catches largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. It's just one of the most versatile baits that you can fish. So the jerkbait definitely is going to be one of them up there. The next one that I like to fish, that I've got to have, must have, is a Squarebill crankbait. This is the Megabass S Crank 2.0. but I also use a lot of homemade ones. Everybody knows that I talk about, David Ryan makes a homemade balsa bait that I use on the Squarebill. But the S-Crank series is the one that I really like on it. It comes in a lot of different colors, different sizes on there. And a Squarebill is a really versatile bait. I mean, it catches fish all year long, with the exception of when the water temperature is like super, super cold. Like this time of year, it's not that great, but as soon as that water starts rising up to close to 50 degrees, it'll start working from that time all the way through the water drops back below 50 degrees in the late fall. It's a great bait for fishing around laydowns, for fishing around rocks, over grass, whatever. It's just a deadly bait. Good for shallow cover. It pulls fish away from cover, and it's a staple. I mean, I'd say a Squarebill crankbait is one of a serious bass angler's favorite bait out there. It catches big fish. It catches a lot of numbers. So this is definitely one that's going to be, one of my favorites there. And my last one is going to be, this is a bait that it will bail you out of trouble a lot. If you need a bite and you're having a hard time getting bit, and especially if you're fishing water visibility that's over 3 feet, a little 3-inch swim bait is just impossible to beat. This is a 3-inch megabass spark shad. A lot of different models out there. I rig it most of the time with like a little 1/8 ounce Oka Shear jig head. You can use a ball head on it too. But I'm rigging this bait normally on anywhere between an 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce most of the time. I very seldom go heavier than 1/4 ounce. But you can crawl it along the bottom. You can swim it and catch suspended fish for it. It's a great bait during the pre-spawn time of the year. In the summertime of the year, in the fall time when those fish are suspended, you can catch a lot of fish on it. And also you can drop shot this bait just with a nose hook on it, which is a really good way to catch them when you're fishing vertical smallmouth or something like that. So anyway, that's my 5. Again, I'll go from one more time. Full-size jig and trailer, gotta have that. Gotta have the floating worm for the spring and fall time of the year. It's gonna catch you a lot of good ones. Never go to the lake without a jerkbait. That's gonna be a big deal. Gotta have that Squarebill crankbait for all your rocks and laydown wood, and the little swim bait for tough fishing situations. So anyway, that's my 5 favorite. It's hard to pick because there's so many different lure categories out there, and there's so many different options that it gets really confusing. But a lot of it just is a matter of balancing quality fish versus numbers of bites. And that's what we're all trying to do most of the time, unless you're just specifically out for big fish. But anyway, if I had to go, if you put me out in the lake and you said, Randy, the only way you're going to survive out here is the fish you catch, that you're not going to get any other food. These are the 5 baits that I would have with me right there, because I'm confident that I could feed myself all year long just on these 5 baits right here. So anyway, hope you guys are doing good today. We'll be back tomorrow, probably do some more lure modifications, and I'll also continue up with that series that I'm doing on my favorite and least favorite lakes, state by state. So I may put one of those out later today for you guys to check out. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Like the video if you like this, and we'll be back tomorrow with another one. See you.